Hello, and a warm welcome to our new monthly show, Athletics History Live. We had to skip February, but are back just ahead of the World Indoor Championships with a show dedicated to indoor athletics. Pierre-Jean Vazel is temporarily unavailable, but we're delighted to have with us Turkish Eurosport commentator and athletics lover, Şevket Erbay. Hello, Şevket. Lovely to see you, and a big thank you for joining us.
Hello, Anna. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here to talk in athletics. PJ also is a fascinating guy. I learned a lot from him. Hopefully, I can contribute something on this program.
I'm sure PJ is really a mine of knowledge, information, and delivered with great modesty, just like you. So I'm sure
exactly.
I'm sure you'll be doing absolutely fine today. So now, before we go into today's theme, let's look back at what we had discussed in our first show in January, when we spoke about athletes who competed at the Summer and Winter Games. Several athletes were about to take part in the Beijing Olympics. Let's have a look at how they fared. So the standout result came from Germany's Alexandra Burkhardt, who was competing with the reigning Olympic champion, Mariama Jamanka, in the two women bob, and the pair won silver. Kaisha Love of the US was paired with multi-medalist pilot Kaylee Humphreys, who won the monobob title in Beijing, and they placed seventh as a team at the Games. Cynthia Appia was the only athlete who was piloting her bob, and she came eighth in both the monobob and the two women bob. Montel Douglas was 17th with her pilot in the two women bob, and Adelaine Nicol was a reserve but finally did not compete. Among the men, two sprinters were competing in the four-man bob. Greg Cackett of Great Britain was sixth in the four-man bob, and Dominik Zaleski of the Czech Republic was 21st. And finally, we should mention Lolo Jones, probably the most popular athlete combining track and bobsleigh. After falling in the 100-meter hurdles final in the Summer Olympics in Beijing 2008, as she was on her way to gold, Jones suffered more Beijing heartbreak as she was dropped from the final US team for the Winter Games after having been initially nominated. But never one to give up, Jones reacted by starting a new podcast, World Medal Loser, in which she speaks with top athletes and entertainers about how to overcome setbacks. You have to give it to her. She's a fighter. But let's get back to today's subject, indoor athletics. So, Şevket, the first aspect we need to look at is why are there indoor competitions?
Indoor competitions invented as a maybe gymnasium type of sport, I guess. During the winter, especially in North America and Europe, athletes have been training in indoor. In the United States, early competitions have been held in late 19th century, though. Until the 80s, actually, there was not properly standardized indoor track over the world. Track were made by wood, cinder, sometimes even clay. Sometimes the organizers using indoor cycling facilities for the athletics as well. That's the reason the IAAF was not recognized World Indoor Records officially until 78, I think, 1978. After that, all indoor tracks using the big championships were standardized, and we come in today.
Thank you, Şevket. Now tell us more about the technical aspects, about the size of the tracks and the banked curves.
By years, there was different tracks type using the different areas, especially in the United States. Their track oval arranged to 11 laps to fit for a mile. That's equaling 160 yards, one lap in track in that time. Before 87, the IAAF standardized. Also, European indoor venues were differs from each others because I checked the historical records. For example, 73 championships held in Rotterdam, in Holland, with 170 meters oval track. In France, famous Grenoble Indoor Arena had 180 meters. In Dortmund, for example, 160 meters. In Madrid, 164 meters oval track in that time. It's very different from each other. Of course, this difference affected bands, which could be tighter and dangerous for the collision sometimes, for the athletes maybe. And oval track has mainly 4 lane in the early times instead of 6 today. Straight lines were shortened as well. Some 50-meter titles awarded in European championships in the previous times. One of them won the legendary Soviet Olympic champion sprinter Valery Borzov with 5:75 in 1972 with the world best 5:75. And some tracks have banked curves in that times as well. There's also looking interesting from today. Normally, you should be contested only one throwing event in the indoor shot put. But I remember Germans trying their so much loving event discus throw in indoor recently. I guess 2018 ISTAF Games indoor meeting in Berlin featured a discus throw competition.
Yes, and I saw that recently. There was also an discus throw, indoor discus, because Stahl was competing.
Where is it? In Sweden or?
I think it was in Sweden. I don't remember now off the top of my head, but it was only last
I guess so,
week.
Yeah. But very interesting in the indoor discus throw competition. Maybe it will be added in the main program in the next feature.
Not sure every venue can have such a distance to ensure safety for everyone with an indoor discus.
Yeah.
Now, this different track format, especially in the bends, did affect one event in particular, and that's the 200 meters, which was discontinued at the World Championships after 2004, precisely for that reason. The curves were so tight in indoor tracks, and that the lane you were drawn in made a huge difference on the result. So much that the 200 meter became known as the lottery, with athletes running outer lanes having a huge advantage. And of course, there was a higher probability of not only disqualification, but also injury to the athletes. But let's take a look at where indoor athletics first began. It is said that the Milrose Games were the very first indoor athletics meet. It was held regularly in New York from 1908. The meeting was staged by the Milrose Athletic Association, formed by the employees of the John Wanamaker department store. For almost 10 years, from 1914 to 1911, it took place at the legendary Madison Square Garden. Now, Şevket, it seems that this is not entirely true, and there were other regular indoor meets before 1908. Tell us more about it.
I think the world's oldest active indoor meeting is Milrose Games for sure, which is part of World Indoor Tour today. The race produced its own culture, more than a century-long history. Even they have Milrose Games Hall of Fame as well. According to Spike magazine article that I recently read, there was 2 days indoor meeting held in New York in 1878. It's quite earlier from Milrose Games, nearly Wimbledon tennis championship time in the 1878. But first national level indoor championship was held in New York in winter in 1906 in US Champs. Similarly, Germans also developed some indoor facilities for athletics exercises mainly and organized some meeting around 30s just after the World War I.
Wow. Thank you, Chef Ket. That was fascinating. Now, of course, there are regions where indoor athletics doesn't make sense. In Africa, the climate generally allows outdoor competition all year round. And in Oceania, located in the summer hemisphere, it is outdoor competitions which take place in December to March. But Asia added the indoor championships to their calendar in 2004, and South America added them in 2020.
Also, I can add some information about the national champs as well, Anna. As we can see on the list, there is some longest running indoor nationals such as Japan and Germany, and some defunct national championships as well in there. In Soviet Union and Yugoslavia also started very early in their national champs before France and some of the big European nations. And European Indoor Championships started in 1966 as indoor games and officially inaugurated in Vienna, Austria. The Europeans held every year until 1990, then changed its period to 2 years after 1990. Similarly, World Indoors also starting as a games in Paris-Bercy with 69 countries attended the first one, the World Indoor Games. And also I mentioned to our regional competition as well, the Balkan Athletics. The 1991 Athens hosted the Balkan Indoors Trial Edition with 5 countries, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Yugoslavia, and Turkey. And 3 years later, Balkan Indoors started in same city, in Athens, until 2009, Athens and Pire hosted the events. After 3 years break, Istanbul took the stage for the Balkan, and until today, Istanbul hosts the event. Asian Athletics, as you mentioned before, kicked off their indoor champs in Tehran, 2004. They have also another indoor competition, continental indoor competition, under the name of Asian Indoor Games. There's a different one. Also, South American Championships started in 2020, just days before the global pandemic closed down.
Thank you, Chef Kette. So as we saw, indoor meets and competitions started over a century ago and gradually became more widespread with the first edition of the World Indoor Championships in 1987. And of course, world records now needed to be approved. So from the 1st of January 1987, world indoor records were officially ratified by the IAAF. All existing world indoor bests were approved as world indoor records, provided they complied with the rules, specifically that the track should not be longer than 200 meters or 220 yards. And since 1998, world records can be made in a facility with or without a roof, meaning that world indoor records, if better than the outdoor record, will also count as the overall world record, as is the case for the men's pole vault, where the indoor mark of 219, recently improved by Monto Duplantis, is better than the best ever outdoor mark, which he also holds with 6 meters 15. Now, talking about world indoor records, 2 of them have already been beaten this year by Jakob Ingebrigtsen at 1500 and Mondo Duplantis in the pole vault. And the 2 athletes who have broken the most world indoor records are both pole vaulters and both dominated their era, Sergei Bubka and Yelena Isinbayeva. Bubka, who competed for the Soviet Union and then Ukraine, set 10 world indoor records to go with his 17 outdoor. And Russia's Yelena Isinbayeva bettered Bubka with 13 world indoor records in addition to her 15 outdoor. Of course, the women's pole vault was a new event, so many of the top athletes competing in the early days improved the record several times. And the last two before is the Inzibayeva era, Stacy Dragila and Svetlana Feofanova. They both improved the world indoor record 10 times. But the athlete who still holds the most world indoor records is Ethiopia's Genzebe Dibaba, who holds the mile, 3,000 and 5,000 meter world indoor record. And she just lost the 1,500 meter indoor record to Gudaf Segai last year. So let's look now at which are the most exceptional world indoor records still standing, based on the scoring tables of athletics. So Mondo Duplantis' 6 meters 19 has the highest score. Then Carl Lewis back in 1984. That was a very, very impressive mark. And the third on the list, the third with the highest score is Wilson Kipketer in the 800 meters. And we'll talk more about him later, set in the Paris World Indoor Championships in 1997. In the women's list, the highest mark it goes to shot putter Yelena Fibingerova. Now, the 70s and 80s marks are to be taken with a pinch of salt. Then Heike Drechsler in long jump with, in 1998, an impressive 7:37. And high jumper Kaisa Bergqvist, 2006, 208 meters in high jump. So very, very impressive records. As we see, Gudaf Segai in the women is quite high up in the chart of most outstanding world records. So let's take a look now at some of the barrier breakers in indoor athletics. 200 meters, which we saw was discontinued. The first man under 20 seconds was Frank Fredericks of Namibia, which is no surprise as he was super talented and a very, very strong competitor. What I'd like to pick out from this chart is the pole vault, where the 6-meter barrier was broken not by Sergei Bubka, who was already breaking world records at the time, but by his teammate in the Soviet team and rival, Rodion Gataulin. And the triple jump indoor record is very interesting because with 18:07, Fabrice Zongo beat the 18-meter mark, and he also beat the previous world record, which was held by Teddy Tamgo, who is now his coach. Shepket, anything you would like to mention in the men, and then we have a look at the women?
The men's side, I'm fascinated with the Wilson Kipketer's time. What a time in that era. In sub 1:43 is amazing. Looking the space era time. Wilson Kipketer is one of the greatest mid-distances of all time, maybe.
Exactly, and he improved it by more than 2 seconds, and it belonged to Paul Ereng. But he improved it. He went below 44 in the heats, and then improved it, went below 43.
In the same championship,
final.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, very, very impressive. So on the women's side, as we saw, Merlin Otte in both the long and the short sprint, Regina Jacobs, of course, Yelena Izimbayeva, and Yolanda Chen, first athlete over 15 meters in the triple jump, and pentathlon's Natalia Dobrinska, and we'll talk more about her later.
Yeah, Natalia Dobrinska, I saw it, the performance live in Istanbul. Great competition versus Jessica Ennis in same competition. But I'm looking to this list, I'm also fascinated by Merlinotte's 200-meter mark is 21:87. Simply great.
Definitely. I mean, both Frank Fredericks and Merli Notte, they were fantastic athletes, and their 200-meter world indoor records are amazing. So, of course, we understand all the issues related to fairness and injury in 200 meters indoors, but those were really excellent marks for both of them. So let's have a look now at who won the most medals, individual medals, at the World Indoor Championships. So Javier Sotomayor leads the chart with a total of six gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze. But Ivan Pedroso in the long jump, he has only golds, 5 golds. So that, I think, is probably the most impressive mark. Even though Javier Sotomayor was such a dominant athlete, I remember checking out the statistics once, not only in terms of the records that he set, but also in terms of the depth. The number of jumps he had over 2 meters 30 and 2 meters 32, it was higher than all his opponents at the time. It was really something fascinating. So Javier Sotomayor, definitely one of the great athletes of our times. And Ivan Pedroso, we know, of course, now is coaching another super talent, Yulimar Rojas. Among the women, the chart is led by Maria Mutola. Very, very impressive. A total of 9 medals, of which 7 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze. Meseret Defar and Merlin Otte have 7 each, but there are a couple ladies who have 5, but only golds. Stefka Kostadinova and Genzebe Dibaba. Chepet, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, what are names in the list we saw. But I can add maybe more, maybe one name in this list is Natalia Nazarova from Russia. Even she had most of the medals with relay team, 4x4 relay team, but she got 7 golds in the competition, is considered as a great achievement as well.
Definitely. As I pointed out, the list was only individuals.
Only individuals, yeah.
Already it's, high jumpers usually compete only in one event. Middle distances, you can compete in 2, like Genzebe, like Bernard Lagat. But I thought adding the relays was a little bit unfair to the other athletes. But as you say, definitely Nazarova was extremely impressive, with just a second to Mutola in terms of championships, and actually more because she had relays. Now let's talk a little bit more about Maria Mutola, who is a great champion both indoors and outdoors. She had an Olympic title and 3 world championship titles, but she was even more impressive in the indoor with a total of 7 gold medals. She definitely would not want to lose an indoor medal. She was such a tough fighter and an athlete that I really admired very, very much for everything she did after she started when she was still competing with her foundation. Very, very impressive athlete. Now, there is another athlete we should mention who is not on the list of medalists, although she did win the world indoors twice, and that is Netherlands pocket sprinter Nelly Koeman. What makes Koeman special is how she excelled in the short indoor distance, but could not replicate the success in longer outdoor events. Nelly Koeman's best outdoor result was a bronze at the European Championships in 1986. On a global level, she was a semi-finalist at the 1987 World Championships and the 1988 Olympics, but indoors she was dominant with 2 world titles and a record 6 European titles between 1985 and 1994. And in winning the 1986 European Indoor Championships, she set a world record of 7 seconds flat. Poland's Eva Swoboda is a little bit similar, but because she's extremely good indoors. But on the other hand, she has already won European age championships at under 20 and under 23 and taken silver in the world under 20, all on the 100 meters. But the World Indoor Championships are about to start. So let's check what are the world indoor records which were set during the continental event and which are still standing. So we have the wonderful 800-meter mark by Wilson Kipketer, the high jump record by Javier Sotomayor, set back in 1989, and heptathlon mark set at the World Championships in Istanbul in 2012. And the women pentathlon world record was also set in the competition in Istanbul, which, by the way, is where Şevket and I first met. So
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
ethical in many ways.
Exactly, special tournament back 10 years ago.
It was a fantastic competition. I really enjoyed
Great.
it very, very much.
Yeah, fully spectator full 3
Yes.
days,
Yes.
sold out tournaments, phenomenal for world athletics.
Yes.
One of the greatest sports events held in Turkey ever, probably.
No, a great edition of the world indoors. So finally, let's take a look at athletes who broke the world indoor record 2 or even 3 times during the same world championships. So the first to do so, even though the triple jump in Sevilla 1991 was an invitational event, it was not part of the championships yet because women's triple jump was at the beginnings. So she set the triple jump world indoor record 3 times with 14:30, 14:39, and finally 14:44. She then went on to improve that to 14:47 in the World Indoor Championships in Toronto 1991. Wilson Kipketer set the first world indoor record in Paris in the heats, which photographer Mike Powell told his editor were held at the start of the afternoon program after lunch, so there were few media colleagues around to enjoy it. Kipketer obligingly repeated the feat 2 days later in the final when everyone was paying attention. I remember the IAAF had just introduced world record bonuses and prize money that year, so the big question from journalists was whether Kipketer would be able to collect 2 checks. But unfortunately for him, world record bonuses only apply once in the competition. Now, Tatiana Lebedeva went one better than Kipketer, and like Kraves before her, she set the world indoor record 3 times during the final in the first, second, and last round with 15:16, 15:25, and 15:36. So I was especially thrilled because I can rarely come out to the tribunes during a competition, but I was very happy when she did it for the 3rd time, and I was able to see it on the last attempt with 15:36. So Şevket, what are your favorite memories from World or Continental Indoor Championships?
I have 3 moments. I have selected 3 moments from World Indoor Championships, 2 from same event in 99 Maebashi, as I can say. Number 3 is Ivan Pedroso, 99 win over Iago Lamela in the last jump. Iago broke the European record 8:56 in his final attempt, and then Pedroso jumped 8:62 in the very last and get the gold. And I think the 4th gold in a row for Pedroso in that championship. Iago also lost his life recently, I think 2017. Rest in peace, Iago, one of the greatest jumpers in Europe. At least I witnessed. Number 2 is same competition, same World Indoor Championships I watched in TV. The Ludmila Formanova surprise 800-meter win over Maria Mutola in Maebashi also I remembered very well. She was beaten, Maria Mutola, in the final by clocking 1:56.90, second fastest in that time in history. Yeah. It was quite surprise and only lost to Mozambique star who held every world indoor titles from 92 until 2006. She broke the Maria Mutola's series in that year. And the number 1, as a naked eye witness, closest finish between United States and Britain in 4x4 women's final in Istanbul 2012. Britain defeated States in Ataköy Arena is just 3/100 second. British anchor leg run by Sherry Pakes Drayton clocked 51:47 in the anchor leg against Sanya Richards, one of the greatest of all time in 400 meter, who ran 51:35, better than Perry Shakes Drayton, but still lost the medal, lost the gold medal, United States. And Perry Shakes Drayton defeated Olympic champion in the final stride. It's an unforgettable race for me.
Wow. Thank you, Şevket. And as you say, the long jump victory of Pedroso is even more special because Iago Lamela was actually known for often producing an excellent last attempt. So he did, but Pedroso went one better. So
yeah, 6 centimeter better. Yeah.
Yes. Now, my first memory of indoor athletics competition was as a teenager at when the 1978 European indoors were held in Milano. And the athlete who impressed me the most was Soviet high jumper Vladimir Yashenko. He had set the world outdoor record aged 18 the previous summer with 2 meters 33 and remains still the youngest ever high jump world record holder. Yashenko had turned 19 at the beginning of the year. His run-up was extremely light. It seemed like he was just cruising, but in the final strides, it changed and he unleashed this exceptional force. It was also interesting time in high jump because the Fosbury flop was taking over as the most popular style. Yashenko had taken the world record from Dwight Stones, who was the first to have set a world record with a flop. Of the medalists in Milano, 2 were straddlers, Yashenko and DDR's Rolf Beilschmidt, while Federal Republic of Germany's Wolfgang Killing was a flop. He used the flop. Yashenko took the title, clearing 2 meters 33 and then 2:35. That would have equaled, then bettered the world record, but indoor marks were not accepted as world records at the time, even when they were better than the outdoor mark and all conditions were regular. So many believed Yashenko could dominate the event for a long time, given his young age and his spectacular talent, and even perhaps lead to a renaissance of the straddle style. But Yashenko suffered a devastating knee injury the following year, which ended his career. And he died prematurely at 40 years of age of cirrhosis of the liver. Rest in peace, Yashenko. It was wonderful to see him deliver his magic in Milano. And if you want to check him out, there are videos available on YouTube. It really is worth looking. So, Şevket, what are you most looking forward to at the upcoming World Indoor Championships in Belgrade?
Yeah, Belgrade, close follow the every disciplines, but maybe a little more my favorite multi-events. But I can name 3 athletes to curious how perform there. One of them is Simon Ehamer from Switzerland. Recent days, watching him curiously, he breaks Swiss national record by 6,285 points in heptathlon. And same competition, he breaks long jump national record as well, 8:26. It's quite a phenomenal performance. I remember his junior days also, quick learner, and has so much capability against Olympic champion Damian Warner. It will be very interesting heptathlon competition in Belgrade. Another one is probably everybody's watching her so much, Ivana Vuleta. We know her as well, Ivana Španović. I was in Belgrade when she jumped 7:24 in European indoors 2017. I was there, an all-time third best mark. Still, their arena was burnt in that day. She is not such a high level, and she did in 2017, but I'm sure she will be doing something special in the Belgrade arena. And Grant Holloway, a super talented American hurdler. He's untouchable right now, maybe going to break his 7:29 world indoor record as well in Belgrade. We will see.
Thank you, Chef Ket. I share some of your, most exciting events to look at in Belgrade. Although on my part, probably it's the men's pole vault, simply because that is one of my very favorite events. Men's shot put will also be of very high quality, given the performances we saw so far this year. And Ryan Krause will want to add to his impressive medal collection, the only one that is missing, the world indoor. And again, as you said, Holloway has been impressive in the hurdles this season, so I'm looking forward to see what he will do in Belgrade. On the women's side, I think it will be interesting to check what Eva Svoboda can achieve if she can continue her excellent season, and the same goes for Gudaf Segai. And then I look forward to actually two Serbian athletes, long jumper Ivana Vuleta. Now, she already has the full set of medals from the indoor championships, as well as Olympic and world outdoor bronzes. But she will definitely want to go for a second gold medal in front of her home crowd, and it's going to be crazy. And another Serbian athlete I'm looking forward to watching, even though she's unlikely to be a medal contender, is 16-year-old wild card entry in the high jump, Angelina Topic. Now, she is the daughter of the great Dragutin and has improved to 1.91 meters this year, which makes her the sixth equal best on the world under 18 all-time lists. So definitely lots of really interesting action starting from tomorrow in Belgrade. So we're now at the end of the show. It was great having Chef Ket with us.
No worries. It's a pleasure to talk athletics with you, Anna. As I'm always saying, athletics is not a sport for me, it's a life. Stay with athletics solidarity always. Thanks.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Chef Ket. And thank you all for watching. See you next month with more great stories from the rich history of athletics and how they relate to what is currently happening in our sport. But in the meantime, we will also be recording 2 episodes of Love Athletics, so stay tuned. Thank you so much. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao, Chef Ket.